Welcome to the CXM at MSU Monthly Roundtable. I think we've been doing this now for 6 or 7 months. We've got a lot of regulars here. I'm pleased to introduce our facilitator, Alistair Methven, who is the Vice President of Customer Experience for Definitive Healthcare. Alistair, if you want to take our crowd through the format that we run our roundtable.
Thanks, Tom. And Vice President of Customer Experience at Definitive for 2 more weeks, and then taking a bit of a sabbatical. So, all right. So for those of you who've been with us, you're aware of our agenda, but we start off with a 15-minute lightning round. Leslie is going to take us through her theories here, and then she's going to pose a question to you all, which will be taken into your small breakout groups. We'll create teams of about 3 to 4 folks, and you're going to work together on that team application. So how do we take what Leslie has just taught us and apply it to a specific situation? We're then going to bring everybody back. We're going to give you 5 minutes to actually vote on your favorite application outcome. And then after that, Leslie and I will sort of pick some of those top choices from the voting, and we'll talk about those, and then take also questions from you all as we talk about the different topics. So ultimately, our goal here is for you to take something away and then bring it back to your company and apply it. So we really hope that you get, just one thing that you can take back today and hopefully move things forward at your own company. So with that, I'll turn it back to Tom to introduce Leslie.
All right. We get a lot of interesting job titles here, but I think this is one of my favorites. In fact, Lou and I just had a discussion this morning about evangelist, and I'm proud to say, Leslie, you are the first chief evangelist we've ever had at our roundtable. Love the job title. Something tells me you were able to give that to yourself, but shouldn't we all have that right? Leslie comes with over 2 decades of experience in customer experience, with a focus on listening and understanding at a scale that is possible with conversation analysis. In a world that's filled with surveys, it's really refreshing to have Leslie here to talk about the use of storytelling as a means of understanding and sharing data. And with that, I want to turn it over to you, Leslie, if you'd like to go ahead and load your slides, and we can get started with
Thank
your
you,
presentation.
Tom.
Great to have you here.
I am excited to be here. Let me see if this is the right screen.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that okay?
There we go.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for having me, Tom. I am thrilled to be here with you. One of the things that I've seen throughout my career is that driving action can be one of the hardest parts of CX professionals. And over the course of the past 2.5 years, I have come to realize that there are kind of 2 contributing factors to the challenge of driving action. And one of those is data-backed storytelling. So as Tom mentioned, I've been in the world of customer experience strategy for 26 years now. And the first 23 years, I spent my time working with large global, primarily tech companies on helping them keep their finger on the pulse of their customers. And we leveraged survey data to do that. And 2.5 years ago, came to a company called Authentics, which is a conversational AI company. And we are helping healthcare leaders keep their finger on the pulse of patient, caregiver, doctor, pharmacist, payer, voices through the everyday conversations that their customers are having with them. These conversations are often kind of recorded calls or chats and stored in their organization. And I'll never forget 2.5 years ago, the first presentation I delivered after joining Authentics. I was presenting insights from over 2,000, let me see. Here we go. From a couple thousand conversations with patients and caregivers. And we were presenting to a large pharmaceutical manufacturer that had just launched a very publicized product on the market. And within 15 minutes of the presentation, the senior most person in the call says, "Leslie, you have my full undivided attention." And it hit me that really quickly within the presentation, we captured their attention, but then this weird dynamic happened in this virtual meeting. The chat was extremely active with people sharing thoughts, questions, suggestions, ideas. And then we saw all these new attendees popping into the meeting. And I found out later that the people in the meeting were forwarding the meeting request on, saying, "You need to hop into this meeting." And what hit me is that action was starting in the presentation. People were signing themselves up to go look into issues that we were surfacing and opportunities that we were sharing with them. Equally of note, now I had come from 2 decades of survey data presentation. I spent exactly 0% of my time having to defend the data that we were sharing. And which was different for me. I had kind of come from this world where you should anticipate some skepticism and you should be prepared to defend your data. Fast forward 2.5 years, I've been with Authentics 2.5 years. I've come to realize that this experience, while it was my first, it was not unique. I've seen this same type of reaction in Incite presentations time and time again. And I've come to realize that it's driven by 2 things. The first is that the voice of the customer data that we're sharing, it's not survey data. And the second is the approach that we use is an approach that we call data-backed storytelling, which is what we're going to focus on today. Now, we have a 2-day certification. Obviously, we don't have 2 days to kind of work through data-backed storytelling here with you. This is lightning round. So I've picked just a couple foundational requirements for data-backed storytelling to highlight. And they'll cover on these 2 questions. First is, how can stories incite action for your audience? And then the second is, what is a data-backed storytelling? What makes up a data-backed story? Sorry, I apologize. It's my clicking's a little delayed. You might be familiar with a leadership communications coach named Granville Toogood. He was a consultant to more than half of the Fortune 500 CEOs, and he's the best-selling author of a book titled The New Articulate Executive. And in this book, he introduces us to 2 parts of the human brain, and he talks about their role in inciting action. The first is the conscious part of our brain. And this part of our brain is activated when we're reading data, when we're looking at reports, looking at product specs. We're working out of the conscious part of our mind. It's the part of our brain that processes information like schedules, concepts, ideas. When we look at dashboards, we're activating our conscious mind. We use dashboards to get information, but this dashboard, it's not really telling us a story. It's not telling us what to go do. We see the data, but we don't really know the why behind it. And what's happening when we see data is our conscious mind is activating the language centers of our brain. It's the responsibility that our brain takes to translate data and make sense of it. But this part of our brain, it doesn't process emotion, it's just processing information. And so what happens when data are present, it's all weighted the same. There's no tipping of the scale. Now activating our conscious mind is good. We have to do it to make good decisions, the right decisions for our customers and for our business. But the conscious, this part of our mind, it's not going to incite action. And that's because data alone isn't accomplishing these things that are on the right hand side, which we need to drive action for our audience. We need attention around the data. We need prioritization and motivation from the data and memory of the data as well. The other part of the mind that Granville Toogood talks about, he refers to as the primal mind. And this is the part of us that acts and is activated by stories. And there are two elements that activate our primal mind. There's story elements and story structure. Story elements consist of four things. There's a setting, there's a character or characters, there's objects or objects of desire, and there are obstacles. Story structure is the sequence of a story. It's kind of the beginning, middle, and the end. And for a story structure to kind of drive action, it should have a normal, this is kind of what current state or normal state looks like, some type of oh crap moment, and then an intervention and a turning point and a new normal. And when these two components are included, the story elements and story structure, it activates the motor and sensory cortexes of our brain. And this part of our brain is responsible for action and for our senses. It also activates the insula, which is our emotional sense in the brain, which is activated because stories that contain action and feeling are emotionally responsive. And so what happens is when stories are present, the balance is tipped towards action. It shifts the human response towards wanting to do something about the situation. And it happens because there's attention around the data, there's prioritization and motivation from the data, and it also is more likely to be recalled in our memory. And so as CX professionals, to incite action, we need to activate both parts of our brain, the conscious mind and the primal mind. And in my terms, not kind of Granville Toogood's terms, but I think about this as our head space and our heart space. And when we anchor our stories in data that connects to the head and we share examples of them that speak to the heart, that's why we call it data-backed storytelling, because it's connecting to both parts. So we talked about kind of what incites action. Now let's talk about what is a data-backed story. A data-backed story is kind of the intersection of these two elements. It is the intersection of macro stories and micro stories. Macro stories come from quantitative data. And while we need the quantitative data to activate our conscious mind, we shouldn't data dump onto our audience. We should just really focus on the one main message we're trying to communicate and not worry about sharing all of the sausage making that went into the analysis. My micro stories are qualitative in nature for the most part. They're real examples, they're real stories. At Authentics, we use something that we call a montage to tell micro stories. A montage is it's a collection of clips, if they're calls, or chat messages, if we're analyzing chat conversations, and they represent a similar theme. So we might share 7 different call clips that all speak to the same overarching theme that we're communicating in our data backstory. Tom, do I have like 4 minutes to share an example?
Take as much time as you want.
Okay, I'll share just a quick example just to help
please
kind
do.
of bring it to life. Okay. So this example comes from a large medical insurer. This particular payer focuses, in this example, we were very focused on their Medicare members. And specifically, they asked us to look at what their Medicare members were saying about their optometry benefits. And so we use conversational AI to find interactions, conversations from members that were about optometry benefits. And we analyzed those interactions. And we shared with them, one of the things that we look at is detractors. So when members are having a conversation with them, do they say anything negative about the organization? And if so, we refer to that as a brand detractor. And so we shared with them what their brand detractors were. They were things like the website, or not being able to resolve their problems, not having any follow-up, the agent knowledge, the typical kind of buckets that you see of technology, people, and process. In this kind of part of the story, I would think of this as the normal. This is the current state of brand detractors for optometry conversations. We then drew attention into the website because it is the largest bar here, with almost a quarter of the optometry conversations talking about the website in the portal. So here, this would be that, oh crap, the uh-oh moment of the story. We then shared with them what we were noticing about the website in the portal. And specifically, we noticed that there's a strong desire for members to exercise self-service for optometry. Members want to use the website to find in-network providers and understand their benefits, but what they want to be able to do and what they are actually doing are different. So in this statement, you'll see we have the character is the members, we have the setting is the website, we have the object of desire being the providers, the optometry providers and the benefits. And then we've got their obstacle, which is the lived experience that they are going through when they use the portal. And so we share, well, what does this lived experience sound like from the member's perspective? Well, it sounds like them saying, I tried going online, I was on your website, I'm wondering if I can go online and find out the optometrists that are in network. I was online trying to see who my optometry benefits are with. So this is kind of setting the stage. We then used micro stories to bring this to life for them. And specifically what they heard is a 3-minute call montage. And for confidentiality reasons, I can't play that for you, but I can share with you some of the quotes that they heard in this call montage. So they heard real, authentic voices of their members saying things like, I tried and I don't know where to go to find an optometrist. I'm trying to print my claims and optometry never seems to show up. I went to your website and it's not too user-friendly. Sorry, that one didn't pop up. It doesn't come up. It's just medical and pharmacy. I tried going on there and I could not find my benefits. I went to the site and all I can get is a little square that asks me who the doctor is. I can't get any other names. And I was just on your website. I cannot find anything about how to actually access my plan. So here's what happened when they were listening to this 3-minute montage is virtually everyone in the meeting was out on their website trying to find what their members are finding. And they're saying, oh my gosh, I can't find it either. How confusing is this? We also shared with them the agent's perspective as well. So they got to hear their own team trying to help their members navigate the website and their own challenges in helping the members navigate the optometry website. Action happened not weeks, not months. Within days, they had made changes to their website to the areas where there was low-hanging fruit. Obviously, some more of the kind of systematic, larger scale required more time, but prioritization of the fixes happened in the meeting and action started happening immediately as well. So that's a couple just fundamentals of data-backed storytelling with story structure, story elements, and then really combining those using quantitative data and qualitative stories to help bring it to life. We would love to have all of us practice this in breakout sessions. And Alistair, I think, will you share how it's going to work or what they're going to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Tom, you're on mute.
I'll go ahead and share the mural board.
You bet.
I'm going to drop,
right.
I'm going to drop it in the link. Those of you who are new here, and by the way, this is a record number of people that we've had at the session. So some of you may be using our mural board for the first time. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that.
All right. So while Tom's sharing that, so what we're going to do is Tom's going to send you off into small groups, as I said, 3 to 4 folks. And what we want you to do is how the question that Leslie posed earlier in her session was, how can stories incite action? So we want you to come up with three areas where you believe, and maybe you have a specific issue or problem at your company or someone in your group's company, where you think that being able to use a story-backed, data-backed storytelling to help show the problem, whether it's that internal or to a customer, right? And come up with 3 ways that you think that the story can help to solve that problem. Okay. So we're going to send you off for 15 minutes into these rooms. And then again, we'll bring you back. We're going to vote on the different ideas that folks have. And then we will discuss from there.
In the meantime, tell you what, if you've got any questions that you'd like to throw to Leslie, why don't you go ahead and do that while I'm remedying this. So,
Leslie, it's Michael here. First of all, super interesting. I love the combination of the qual and the quant aspect of that. You know, I come from a customer experience design firm, and we obviously focus a lot on the quant or qual side of it. And we come up with certain things like that, but we don't have usually necessarily the quant angle on those things. So I just love the combination of that. It totally tracks with how we're thinking and the storytelling effectiveness of getting people's attention. So, you know, hats off to you. I really like that aspect of how you put it together.
Thanks, Michael.
Jack, I see you got your hand raised.
Yeah, I similarly thought it was a great presentation. I had you sparked a thought though, and I wonder if you do any work in this space. is looking at the gap between not what people say versus what they experience, but what they say versus what they do. Does that ever come into your opportunity discussion?
Usually what we analyze is what they are saying they did before they got to the contact center. So I was on the website, I was trying to do this. It's less about like them talking about their intentions, while sometimes they do talk about their intentions of, I'm going to leave. We don't do the follow through analysis to see if they actually do what they say they're going to do. But it's a good thought. We are talking a lot about like journey and stitching through all of the interactions that customers are having, which could get to some of that type of do you do what you say you're going to do or not?
Terrific. Thank you.
At our company, we use full story, so we can see what the customer is actually doing, what they say and what they're actually doing. So that does help us a lot when we're trying to say there's a problem. We just take the comments, from our CSAT data and show exactly what's happening. We actually mine those as well to see where the problems are, where the sticking points are, where they're struggling.
Yeah, it's good. Pendo would be another tool that you could leverage for that. Duke, I see you have your hand raised.
Sure. What are some of the ideas for the conversations that come up and say, yeah, you found 6 people who had trouble doing that. I know 10 people who say it's perfect. And you start to, and if you change it, those 10 people, and it just starts that, well, you found this number, but I don't think it's that way. And neither do these people. How do you engage in that conversation?
Well, that's why you have to have the quantitative data. So we're not going to be telling a story that isn't representative of the big problem or the big opportunity. Now, we do tell some one-off stories. We're in healthcare, and so there are some one-off stories that are important for our clients to hear about, but we wouldn't put those in the data backed side of it. So we're going to only be focused on a story that is data backed from a quantitative perspective, but bringing it to life by sharing qualitative stories to illustrate it. Does that answer? Okay.
This is super important. So my background is customer success. And so, being able to work with the other folks in the customer experience sort of sphere of influence, if you will, to be able to tell those stories, my team relies heavily on our marketers to help us. We can bring the quantitative information, but helping us shape the qualitative is super important, so that when we go back to clients, we can tell them, hey, look, this is what we're seeing. This is the value. And we can help, we can really bring that to life by leveraging, very specific stories that we get from their own employees. So,
Leslie.
Alexis.
Okay. I appreciate your patience. I'm going to drop into the chat the link to the mural board. And it's a little messier than usual. Sorry about that. But what you're going to do, you're going to be put into a team. You're going to identify a cluster of 3 notes. And in there, you're going to identify the problem. And then you're going to identify what type of macro data would you use and what type of micro data would you use, all on separate notes. So let me go ahead and paste that in there. You may need to provide some login information. So looks like we've got 43 people still here. Thanks for sticking around. I'm going to put you into 10 different groups. So we'll have 10 groups of 4. Does everybody know what they're tasked to do? So you got random 3 or 4 people in your team. What's a common problem that you might face? And Leslie, do you want to emphasize what you want them to put from macro and micro.
Sorry, I couldn't come off mute. Yeah, so just in your groups, agree on a problem. It could be a real one or a hypothetical problem that you see. And just think about what type of macro data, what quantitative data might you need to support that problem? And then what are some of the qualitative stories that you can tell to bring it to life?
All right, folks, and we're going to give you just about 15 minutes to do it. We'll be watching your progress. So don't be afraid if you've completed it in 10 minutes, we might pull you back because of our time constraints. But we're shooting for about 15 minutes. I'm going to create 10 breakout rooms. We will see you then and have fun. And at most teams, I think it took about 10 minutes for them to figure out how Miro works, but looks like you guys got it pretty well figured out. What we're going to do is start a voting session now. We're going to give you 3 votes. And what we want you to do is go read the other team's posts and identify those posts that you think are the best, share the best ideas that you'd like us to focus on. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start the voting. And all you need to do is just click on those that you want to vote on, 1, 2, and 3. So we'll give you about 4 minutes to do that.
3 minutes. We're going to bring you back. We're going to bring you back at 11:50. We will close.
Okay.
All right, Tom, let's go ahead and end the voting session
All right.
so we can get time to actually discuss.
Oh, we got the win.
We got a clear winner here. So I think this was one of the problem statements for this group, and I saw that the 2 responses in it were classic, right? You contact Airbnb, they tell you to contact the host says contact Airbnb, you're back and forth, and then finally you go out to social media. So Leslie, love to hear your thoughts on, what would your story be going back to Airbnb on how they need to change this micro journey for this client?
Yeah, I think the first, which we didn't cover, is the audience, understanding the audience that you're, trying to drive action from. So in this case, I believe it would be Airbnb trying to make it clearer for their customers on the information that they need to get to their Airbnb in a timely basis. Mm-hmm. So with that as the problem statement, you'd be looking for, it'd be interesting to see what quantitative, like what macro data they talked about.
There we go.
So anybody from this group want to sort of speak about?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote this one. It was a real thing. And it's happened not only here, but in a lot of different tech solutions where they're just basically putting up this tech front. In this case, the host is a large company that wants to capture the customer for their own. And so they don't have to pay Airbnb fees in the future. So that was a bit of a more conundrum. I explained that to Airbnb, but couldn't get anyone human-wise on the phone. I had to shame them into contacting me through social media posts and tagging them.
I've done the same thing with Airbnb.
Yep. And the NPS score came a week later, and I was like, I don't even bother with this.
Right. Yeah. Getting that survey after you've already told them what you feel is a little disheartening, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. This one is near and dear to my heart as a customer experience, making sure that we can get there. Digital adoption and getting putting a story around how do we convince our internal I would take this as an internal, but anyone from the group who had the digital adoption want to sort of walk us through what you were thinking here. No one.
I will. I
There's
guess I'll
Andrew.
go. I'll
There you
I'll
go.
explain. So we came from this actually from an external place, trying to get customers to adopt self-service within the digital platform, whether it be web or mobile app, and ways to approach that to reduce costs, calls to the call center, and all of those things.
And so what was some of the quantitative data that you think would help to start?
Yeah, so I think just understanding the actual adoption itself, like so we talked about the number of policies to user accounts, the number of users that actually have email addresses. It's a very varied population for this insurance company. Shannon, correct me if I say anything wrong. It's kind of your company that we
you're spot on
use this
there.
on. Awesome. Yeah. And then user tests and using web analytics data to understand what people are trying to do, and then a post or some sort of a survey, whether it's like a user panel, user testing, or within the actual platform itself, trying to understand what people are trying to do and highlight tasks that maybe aren't currently available in digital, or most prevalently the mobile app, and trying to help prioritize those efforts over some others to get users what they're looking for.
Yeah, good. Shannon, do you have and you don't need to know your name of your company, but are you all using anything like Full Story or Pendo to capture? Because you're dead on in terms of what you're going to want, but
I don't think so. And I'm sorry if there's background noise. I have a noisy toddler in here. No, I don't think we have any of that. I know my counterpart is the one that manages our mobile app and our digital experience, but I don't think she uses any of those tools right now. We do a lot of usability testing, but I don't think we do anything else.
okay. Leslie, any recommendations for Shannon and her team in terms of how to go get the qual here?
Yeah, I would, that's kind of what stood out to me, because it sounds like there's a wealth of quantitative data, and it would just be finding a few stories that you can show, whether it's, watching a customer navigate or whatnot, but a few stories that you could tell or show that illustrate the problem areas, or, where they're dropping out or where they're not coming in.
Yep. Great. All right. I think we got time for one more. University of Miami looking to engage ticket holders into further donations. Oh boy. All right. Anyone from this team want to speak up?
Can start us off. I was happy to have Jack and Lisa on my team. They have so much wealth of information. So right now, the university it's trying to implement Salesforce Marketing Cloud. We're gonna be 100 years in 2024. And for the first time ever, we're really looking at centralizing communications in a meaningful way. And one of the things that we struggle is people that love the 80s football teams of the U, that are hardcore fans of the university, didn't probably go to the university at all, or don't have any family members that actually went to the university. They're just really hardcore fans of our athletics program. In every single ticket purchase, even if you go to any, I'm sure that this happened at any other university, there's a portion of that ticket that is a donation. The issue is that they do not know they're donors. In some way, it's we send them, obviously you receive a receipt, but how many of you actually read the receipts when you get them in the mail? So we want to ensure that they can learn that, and also support other areas of the university, maybe scholarship for athletic students, or maybe it's supporting the facilities that we have around athletics and so forth. So we got some cool first, basically we talk about the data. And Jack, do you want to talk about that?
Sure, I'll jump in. Yeah, I first of all thought it was really interesting that you know, in a sense, all the fans are a portion of their, and maybe this is true everywhere, but I think the idea is smart to that these fans are actually supporting and donating to many parts of the university and many programs. So we were talking about maybe some of the ways to bucket those donors, well, we'll call them fans, but fans who are donors, you know, based on you know, some are local, some are alum, some are not, but they have identifiable information on who these people are, and potentially maybe develop personas from that kind of data, and then look to create stories at the university about the success of some of those areas available to donate to, and maybe tie those back or find connecting threads back to some of the quantitative either segmentation or sort of qualitative you know, personas that they might create from the database. So they're early in their Salesforce implementation, so they haven't been able to actually act on it yet, but they're sort of thinking about the opportunity to better connect and inform and create sort of re-giving. So the premise might have been misunderstood in the problem, in that not just trying to get donors from you know, fans or attendees of sporting events, but those people who are essentially already donors, and how to increase that engagement and relationship with them.
Yeah, and I think, Louisa, one thing I've known and working at the university, and also being alumni and being a donor, are all the emotions that you catch with the qualitative data. All those relationships that they have with the university are packed with emotions, which are really powerful, which create really powerful stories.
I agree. I think there are also there's name, image, and likeness complications right now. Obviously, we had to, not complications, but we do have to, you know, pay some student athletes for certain things that we want from them. And now that didn't happen before. But Lisa, do you have anything to add?
No, thanks. You know, Tom, hi, Tom, by the way, it's Laura Casey. Tom said the same thing I was going to say, you know, especially as I have a relationship with MSU as well, it really is the emotion behind the relationship that I think is what's going to drive that further engagement.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you all.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, folks, for joining us. Thank you, Leslie, for this great topic. I think certainly something we can all take back, I think, and try to apply today. So we would like you all to join us next month. We are actually moving our time for next month to Thursdays at 4 o'clock. And we're going to have Tom DeVries joining us to talk about CX is stuck, now what? So I think this is a great topic that we'll definitely get some more insights into in November. And for those of you, hopefully all of you are going to come. I was going to talk about. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Hopefully all of you are going to be able to join us in 2 weeks at the CXM 360 conference on campus in East Lansing. We've got great speakers coming for that, and look forward to seeing those of you who will be there. I will also be in attendance.
Yep.
Tom,
and the last thing I want to add, yeah, those of you that aren't familiar with the master's degree at Michigan State University, it is an online program. It's designed for working professionals. Our students range from entry level in CX all the way to vice president. We are accepting applications right now for the January cohort. If you are at CXM 360, you'll have the opportunity to interact with, we're expecting over 35 of the students in the program to be attending that day, as well as 12 faculty at the conference. So with that, thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you next month when we're joined by Tom DeVries, not DeVries. It's okay. I'm Dutch, so I just happen to know. Tom's from Grand Rapids. We're going to talk a little bit about why CX seems to be, why there's so many struggles right now in the C-suite and where CX belongs. And Tom's got some strategies for that are really interesting. So I expect as big a crowd next month as we had this month. But thanks for being here. Thanks for so much strong support. Louisa, good to see you back again. Missed you last month, I think. Good to see the students here. Sue, looking forward to those hugs soon. Kristen as well. Good to see you guys. Jorge, we'll be seeing you soon in class. Jorge's joining our next cohort. And Tom, we'll see you next month, man. Bring the hammer with you, would you? And maybe, yeah, or maybe you can, can you like take out a cantaloupe or a watermelon with that? Anyways, all right, guys. Thanks so much. Good to see you. We'll see you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
bye.
you.